You're listening to the Love Over Addiction podcast. Hey, how are you? I had the house alone by myself for an hour and a half without any kids or husband and just me and my dog Tubby. And it just feels glorious. I'm recording this while everyone's still gone because it just feels so good and so freeing to walk around the house by myself. You guys know I have a gazillion children and my husband works from home, so it's always crowded in here. Anyways, I thought I'd spend my time with you, my favorite people. So, okay, today we're going to talk about another really sensitive topic. I'm going there. And we're going to talk about depression and anxiety. And again, I'm going to make this really personal, okay? So I have a very, very good best friend, and we've been best friends for over 12 years. And oftentimes because we're busy with our kids, we just hang out on my front porch and we drink tea because we're wild and crazy like that. And one of the things I love about this friend is that she struggles with anxiety and I struggle with depression. And together we make a really fun team, but we can empathize with each other and we can relate to one another and we know the language. And depression and anxiety are kind of cousins, right? So we were out on my porch the other night talking, and on a Friday night with our tea, talking about mental health, and which just sounds so funny to me. So we were talking about the effects of depression and anxiety. Now, up front, like I said last week, I am not a scientist. I am not a doctor. I am definitely not an expert. This is just my theory, and honestly, it's a guess, okay? Like, I'm guessing. There are probably, for certain, there are many, many people that know way more about this topic than I do. And I suggest you listen to them. Take all of what I'm going to say with a grain of salt. But I had kind of this aha moment where we were talking and I was like, oh my gosh, I think there's something here that I wanted to share with you. All right, so depression. For me, depression feels heavy, very lonely. I feel almost numb, and I drive around the city just kind of zoned out, which is very scary. I don't see the color on the leaves of the trees. I don't feel when a kid tells me they love me. I never have anything to wear when I'm depressed. I'll just pull out 5 different outfits and just, never feel like I look good or anything fits. I hate feeling depressed, but it is something I have struggled with all of my life. I remember the first time I noticed it, really understood it. I was getting ready to go to the mall with my ex-husband and my kids. He was my husband at the time. And they were all in the minivan. We're in the driveway. And I ran into the house. I said, oh, stop. Wait, I got to go into the house to get my sweater. So I got out of the car, ran into the house, into the closet. And I'm standing in the closet and looking for my sweater. And all of a sudden, you guys, it was like a wash of darkness just fell over my body. Just like a blanket. And I had done nothing. No one was talking to me. Nothing had changed in the last 5 seconds. It was that physical. And I remember walking back to the minivan and going, how could I have changed moods in just a matter of seconds? And of course I felt too embarrassed. Well, not of course, but at that moment, I felt too embarrassed and too ashamed to ever share with my husband my issues or my problems. And my kids were too young to talk about it then. They were I think I actually only had one child at that point. Anyways, it was great in a way because I was able to identify what had been happening to me all my life. But I realized this is depression. And I'm not the type of depressed where I feel depressed every moment of every day. In fact, I go through waves. It's not a manic. It's just I feel normal. And then out of the blue, these big, just seasons of depression come into my life. And I never know how I got there or why. And I never know what to do to get out of them, right? So I've tried medications because I'm completely fine with taking medications. It's just they didn't work for me. And I tried a variety throughout my life. I do suffer from thyroid disease, and I know your thyroid has a lot to do with depression. I take thyroid medication every day. It does not help with my depression. I've gone to therapy till the cows come home. I've talked more about my past, my future, my issues, all of it. Nothing really seems to be working. So it's something I learned to live with. It's just something I've learned to not be ashamed of, not be embarrassed about. It's just how my makeup, right? Just like the ones we love struggle with addiction, and a lot of them have a genetic predisposition. I just happen to think I have a genetic predisposition to depression. And for now, that's okay, right? For me, it's okay. So, anywho, that's how I struggle with depression. Now, my best friend, she struggles with anxiety. So she is quite nervous all of the time. I can tell when it's not a great day because we'll go for a walk in our neighborhood and I'll say hello and she'll just talk really, really fast. Not because she's manic or anything, but because she has to get it all out. She's nervous about everything. She wants to figure it all out. She wants to feel better. She wants to but she's worried. So it comes out as very excitable, right? And she has a hard time listening. She has a hard time being grounded. She has a hard time feeling solid. And yes, I do have her permission to talk about this. So it's really difficult, right? We both struggle very different ways. Now, here's my theory. Ready for it? Okay, when you struggle with depression, I think the antithesis, the opposite of depression is happiness. Now, I know a lot of people say, oh, happiness, I hate that word. It's joy. What is really happiness? I love the word happiness. I think happy makes me feel, it reminds me of being light. It reminds me of laughter. It makes me feel hopeful. And happiness makes me feel like I describe it as grateful. I love the word happy. So I'm going to stick with happiness. But if that bothers you, you can think of me as saying joy. So depression, the opposite of depression for me is happy. And for her, so anxiety, that is a need to control, right? Because you're feeling so anxious, you're just grasping for control of everything, all things, all at once. And so for anxiety, the opposite of that to me is freedom, letting go. That really popular expression in the recovery community, let go and let God. It just means surrendering, right? So I feel like what works for me, and this is what we were talking about, what modalities help each one of us kind of help. It doesn't help us overcome our depression or anxiety, but it certainly helps us work with anxiety or depression. So for me, what I have found is eating there's scientific proof and evidence that certain foods can really help with depression. And I have found great success when I am eating healthy and I am including these specific foods in my diet. I have found that it takes me from an 8 out of 10 depressed to a 2 out of 10 depressed, right? So food for me, and also, and this is going to sound trite or cheesy, but positive affirmations. You guys, oh my gosh. Every morning after I drop off my son at school, he goes to a school for dyslexic children, and it's an hour away. So every morning I have to drive him an hour, but it's a fantastic school and it's right for him, so I make the drive. And then on the way back, the whole hour, I am saying out loud positive affirmations that I get free off of YouTube. And just speaking those positive, instead of, because depression is very negative, speaking positive, telling myself, like this morning, I was like, I'm grateful for my feet. I'm grateful for my heart. I'm grateful for my liver. I'm grateful for my seatbelt. I'm grateful that I have clean running water out of my faucets. I'm grateful that I can go home and take a shower with clean water. I'm grateful for my shampoo. Just running the list. Saying those things out loud for me very much helps me, so that 5 hours from now or 3 hours from now, when I'm feeling depressed again, I can go back to those and remember what I am grateful for, or what I am bringing into my life, right? So speaking these positive affirmations in food is really helping me. For my friend who struggles with anxiety, and letting go of all things that she cannot control, which is pretty much everything, she finds great help in meditation, in getting still, in getting quiet, in getting grounded, in having a guided meditation. And she uses the Calm app, which I have found they have some free versions of the Calm app, some free meditations on there. So for her, this works. Now, again, I'm not suggesting that what we do is what's going to work for everyone. But I do think what works for one is not necessarily what's going to work for the other, right? And when I think back to loving someone that struggles with addiction, I think I did struggle with both, depending on the day. I was depressed that my marriage wasn't working out like it should. I was depressed that I was going to break a family apart. I was depressed that this man who had so much potential, who was brilliant and good looking and charming and could be anything he wanted to be, was just, I felt like he was, killing himself and killing our family by choosing drugs and alcohol and pornography and gambling and all the things, right? I was depressed, but I was also very anxious because I kept wondering, is he ever going to get sober? What do I do if he doesn't? What do we do for money? We were broke. We had nothing. What do I do about the kids? Are the kids going to hate me? Are they going to realize that he's struggles with addiction? Are my kids going to struggle with addiction? The constant anxiety of not knowing about the future, not feeling like you have to walk on eggshells, placing all of your eggs in this one basket of a person and then not knowing if they're ever going to get sober long term. It's really exhausting. So I felt like I was going back and forth between depression and anxiety. And I don't know where you're at. But I wish someone had told me that it's okay to struggle with depression and anxiety when you love. It's okay to struggle anytime in your life. But it's particularly okay and normal when you love someone struggling with addiction. That you absolutely are not unusual for feeling all of these ways. They call this a family disease for a reason, because it affects us as the family. We're sick too. And we need help and love, and we deserve to pour into our health, our mental health, our well-being, not just make it about the ones we love all the time. So this is my message to you. I don't have a formula for you to treat depression or anxiety. I'm certainly not qualified to do that. But I am here as your friend to say, if you feel those feelings, me too. I left my ex-husband over, I don't even know how many years ago now, you guys. And I still struggle with depression. And that's okay. Right? It's certainly okay and normal if you struggle too. It really is. And I'm here for you, and this community's here for you, and we think you're wonderful. And you don't always have to be wonderful either. You can be sad, you can be depressed, you can feel a panic, a low-grade panic and a sense of fear most of the time. And you know what? You can be all those things and it can still be okay. Your life can still turn out just wonderful. And you can find the happiness again. You can get healthy. It's not doom and gloom forever. You can live to exist with these feelings. You really can. It's okay. You don't need to try so hard to be okay, because you can be okay with feeling depressed and anxious too. All right. I love you. I am here for you, and it's going to be okay. This podcast is created for your support, encouragement, and entertainment with my personal thoughts and beliefs. We are bonded together by the fact that we love someone suffering from addiction. This is not intended as a substitute for therapy or advice from a professional.